Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Montreal-based jazz guitarist and composer Sam Kirmayer. He took some time to talk about his life in jazz up to this point, COVID living, and his new 2022 CD, In This Moment. He has performed across Canada with his own groups and remains an in-demand sideman in Montreal, working with many of the city's finest cats. He is the president and co-founder of a nonprofit organization dedicated to keeping jazz alive in Montreal's historic neighborhoods of Saint-Henri and Little Burgundy. He's got a great story. Enjoy.
Hey, thanks for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz today. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You bet, man. So you have a new CD, In This Moment, coming out right now, and, we're still going through this pandemic, and things are uncertain, and I think overall, how does it feel to have new material out now with the hopes of hopefully live venues opening up or more chances to promote this?
Yeah, I mean, I got to say it's nice to finally be getting this music out there. I was kind of working on it through most of the pandemic period, especially 2020 and early 2021, and it's nice now to finally be able to actually play it for people. Got a few gigs coming up. Hopefully things open up more and I can do more of that. But yeah, I think, we're still obviously in the middle of this, but at least to me it feels like we're kind of taking a more positive turn. So yeah, I'm happy to have my music lining up with that for sure.
So did you make this during the pandemic, or was this something that was done before?
Well, it's a project that I've been thinking about doing for a long time, and I actually started working on it on 2018, and I had the recording session all lined up and everything was ready to go. And then the pandemic hit, so I went back and kind of rewrote the whole record during that time, which is actually a blessing because the music came out much stronger than I think it would have been before.
Talk to me a little bit about the lineup on this and kind of what the creative approach for this album was.
So musicians that played on this record are, for me, kind of the emblematic of the Montreal scene. Montreal is where I live. A lot of these guys are mentors to me or musicians that I came up hearing and playing with at jam sessions and eventually working with. So getting them to play on my project was really exciting, especially this particular combination of them. And then the pianist on this record, Sean Fife, is a really good friend of mine who I met while I was at school. And we used to play together in a Bud Powell tribute band. And then he played on my first record, Opening Statement. So I was really glad to get to work with him again. He's been all over the place since he's been in New York. Now he lives in London. So we don't get to play together as often as I'd like, but I was really happy he was able to come up and do the session.
So, over this time, this pandemic time and lockdown, it's given everyone extra time to be with themselves, more time of self-reflection. I'm curious, what did you learn during this time about yourself that maybe you didn't realize before that's going to make you stronger as you get out and promote this new album and play live shows more? Yeah,
that's a good question. I think that, the grind of being a working musician, as much as music is such a gift, that kind of, working all the time, and there's certain aspects of it, like anything, that can start to wear on you, and just having a chance to step back. I remember when I finally got back on the bandstand when things started to open up again, I was just really overcome with gratitude to be able to do this. So I think I'm coming out of this period with a much healthier and more positive and grateful perspective on just being able to play music for other people and being able to put something positive into the world. So, yeah, I'm very thankful for that.
How's Montreal doing? I mean, are things opening up? I mean, it's such a great city. Is there an awakening happening now?
There definitely is, yeah. I don't know if you're aware, but we kind of got hit with some of the strictest restrictions in North America. We had a curfew. We couldn't leave the house after 8 o'clock for months in the middle of winter, which was really hard. But now things are really looking up. We've got clubs reopening. I'll be able to play an album launch concert on Saturday night for this music, so that's great. Lots of stuff. The festivals are coming back. I'm actually involved in starting a new festival here that's going to be in May. So, yeah, things are really, it feels like this is a good time, and there's a lot of energy and pent-up pent-up energy that's ready to be released on the scene. So, really happy about that.
So talk to me a little bit about your beginnings in not only music, but in jazz. How did you get lured into it, and how did it begin?
So I've been playing music, playing guitar since I was a kid. I think I got my first guitar from a garage sale when I was 7 years old. And I was always really passionate about it. You know, didn't have a lot of formal training until later on. and my dad's a huge jazz fan, and my uncle is actually a jazz drummer. So I had been exposed to it. You know, I grew up listening to Coltrane and Monk and really loving that stuff. But I didn't really have any exposure to jazz guitar until much later on. So I didn't really connect that the instrument I was playing could be a jazz instrument for whatever reason until I got to college, and I had a great teacher who exposed me to all the greats, and I really fell in love with it. And partly at first because it really was something I was not able to do, and I would show up to my ensembles and feel like I couldn't keep up, so I just wanted to overcome that challenge. And then the more I invested in the music, the more it gave back. So I really fell in love, and that's been the story ever since.
So who were some musicians that really inspired you and kind of helped you find your voice?
In terms of people I've listened to a lot on records, Wes Montgomery and Grant Green have been big influences for me. Peter Bernstein is probably the biggest influence, although it's been an important part of my development to try to move past that. I think there are some musicians who have such a strong gravity of their voice that it's dangerous to get too close. So these days I'm trying to pull myself a little bit away from Peter, but he's still a great inspiration. On the local scene, there's some really, really tremendous musicians here. Andre White, who plays drums on the record, has been a big mentor to me and somebody I look up to. Also Kevin Dean, a really fantastic trumpet player in town. And there's there's kind of a Montreal guitar lineage. People like Nelson Simons, who apparently Wes Montgomery was a big fan of, although he never got recorded enough, all the way through René Thomas, who lived here briefly, and Peter Leach, who is from here originally. So there's just a lot of inspiration.
What was the first live jazz show that you saw that was just magnanimous for you?
Wow, that's a good question. You know, I'm not sure that I could remember. Not sure that I can remember. I feel like I sort of slipped into it, and but I can tell you a show that I think of as one that made the biggest impact. It definitely wasn't the first, but I got a chance to hear Heads of State when they came to play at the International Festival here with Gary Bartz and Larry Willis and Al Foster and Buster Williams, and that show really had a huge impact on me.
What about mentors? Who have been pretty key in your development and grasp of the jazz craft and your career?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, Andre White, who's on the record, has been a big one. Kevin Dean as well. There's a really terrific guitar player in town, Greg Clayton, who I got to study with a bit during my degree, and he also just is kind of a fountain of knowledge. Corey Weeds, who runs Cellar, that the label is on, hasn't been so much of a mentor, but he's definitely a role model in terms of how he's just has this incredible knack to make things happen in the music, organizing tons of projects and keeping things moving forward. So that inspires me for sure.
So what is it that you like the best about being a professional musician? Every day you get to wake up and you get to, make music. What is the best part of this process for you?
Yeah, I mean, aside from the fact that I just love music and just having that connection with my instrument and having this, well, here's my answer. So the best thing for me is the fact that no matter what I do, no matter how much I work, there's always something new to get at. Musically, there's always some new kind of project I can get involved with, new people to meet and work with. So it's just this fact that it's endless, and there's always this creative energy that I feel like this is a career where you would have to work very hard to get into a rut.
Of all of the jazz musicians that are out there, who have you not seen live that you would love to see live?
That's a good question. I haven't seen David Hazeltine live. I'd love to see him. I've seen a lot of my heroes, actually. A big regret I have is that I missed one of Cedar Walton's last gigs. I was actually in New York at the time that it was happening, but I had some other commitments and I wasn't able to go. So yeah, that's something that I'm always kicking myself for. But I feel like otherwise I've actually been pretty fortunate and seen most of my heroes already.
So let's take this a step further. We get off the phone, Jazz DeLorean pulls up in front of your house. You can get in and go back in time and see anybody live in the world of jazz. Where are you going? Who are you going to see?
Charlie Parker.
So you're coming here.
Yeah.
Coming to Kansas City.
That's it.
Nice.
That's it.
Right on. Why do you love jazz?
I think it's an endlessly powerful music. I think it connects on so many levels. It's it's music that has its roots in being community music for the people, but it's also been taken to such heights that it can express such a breadth of emotion and ideas. And I don't think there's really anything comparable in music. Certainly, I don't know about in any other art form, but I just think it's got everything.
So, the one thing that we've been missing mostly over these last 2 years is that element of live music. And when we do start getting back, and as you mentioned in Montreal and beyond, things are opening up, what do you hope we all realize about the power of live music when we do kind of return in earnest?
I hope we all realize that it goes beyond entertainment, like especially now in the Netflix era, and we've all spent years, had enough time to overwatch and burn out on screens. So I hope we all realize that beyond the entertainment value, music is also really something that brings people together and that can make places that we want to be in and connect people in a community. And I think we need more of that in the world in general. And so I hope this kind of not having it makes us realize how important it is.
So everyone has a perception or an idea of who they think you are, your family, your friends, your fans, but ultimately you live your life, you have a perception of yourself. Who do you think you are?
Wow, that's a deep question. I'm just trying to I'm just trying to learn and grow and do the right thing and stay humble and do the best I can. Really, that's how I try to see myself, for sure.
Right on, man. Hey, Sam, thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz today. Good luck with the album and the return to the stage. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Montreal, Kansas City, and spots all over the globe, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Sam for his time, music, and cool. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.